Welcome back to our channel, Warriors. We are still growing. If you haven't had that person that's always calling to refinance your mortgage, smash that subscribe button. Go and have them smash it right now. First and foremost, let me give a shout out to those that showed love last night on the live. Esquiel times 2, the retired CO always coming through. Roy, Slide Through, Big Joe, and Lance. Thank you. Now, shout out to the following patrons: Joquez, Michael, David, The Soulless, Edwin, Jamie, J.I., Cassandra, New Boot, I'm a Cabron, Chris, Art, Lawrence, Javier, Janice, Ruben, Audit 460, Crescent, Pew Professional, Shanty, Isaac, Teresa, Grumpy Raider, Claudia, Virginia, Randa, Patter, PN, Jaden, John Wick, Louise, Caligo, Charmandy, Johnny, and Renzo. If you have not already signed up for that Patreon, you are definitely missing out. Make sure you hit that link in the description below. This episode right here, man, you're not gonna believe it. Straight up, you're not gonna believe it. I think, well, not. It's hard for me to say. I think things happen for a reason, but it's almost like now I know things happen for a reason, right? God will put you in certain situations. The universe has the way of putting you in either the right place at the right time or the wrong place at the right time. And that's how my life has been, really. It's almost been like a wild ride, even up until coming out on the YouTube and speaking like this, right? I couldn't have came out on the YouTube if I actually had not put in 16 years in the California Department of Corrections as an officer, sergeant, lieutenant, right? Think about that. Like, I got to see those perspectives at those different ranks. This story right here, man, is very wild. As you guys know, I was in the crisis response team, CRT. That is equivalent to a SWAT team out on the police streets, on police agency out on the streets. In there you have tactical operators. Those are the guys that wear all the helmets, the cool gear. They kick in doors. They set up search warrants. They do the tactical stuff. Well, contrary to that, you have, well, it's not even contrary because they work hand in hand, right? The left hand knows what the right hand is doing and the right hand knows what the left hand is doing. You have hostage negotiations, crisis negotiator. I was both, right? I started off as a tactical operator, and then eventually I volunteered to go to the hostage negotiation side, to go through that academy, to go through that training. Because by then your boys' joints were slowing down, right? It was like 20 years combined, if you count the army, of like, hey, wearing all that gear will compress your back, your spine. Oh, which reminds me, Madden's Law Group, right? Go to publicsafetycomp.com. Here's the phone number, 310-340-0317. Tell them Hector Bravo sent you, right? If you suffered any on-the-job injuries or you think you may have suffered on-the-job injuries, call the homie Nick Madden. With that being said, spine all compressed, right? You're just all, your knees shot out, your shoulders from carrying the heavy gear. When I went to the crisis response team hostage negotiator course academy, that was in San Luis Obispo area. It's beautiful up there. That was approximately 10 or 11 days. Can't remember. I do remember it was the hardest testing, the hardest course, the hardest academy I had ever attended. And that's kind of including, if I think about the mind, right? My brain, how stressed out it got. It's kind of up there with basic training in the military. You're seeing new things, you're exposed, you're making your hamster work. Definitely leaps and bounds easier than the regular academy to join, become a correctional officer. Definitely, for me, easier than being a tactical operator, because that's just a set of skill sets, right? As long as you can shoot, run, communicate, and think, you'll be all right. The hostage crisis negotiation, you have to be a thinker. Oh my goodness. Oh, you have to retain you have to learn information, you have to retain information, you have to regurgitate information. Now, without giving up too much game, right? Because I couldn't do that. It wouldn't be ethically correct. Uh what the hell does a hostage negotiator do, Hector? We've seen the movie John Q. We've seen the movie Negotiator with Samuel L. Jackson. I think it's Samuel L. Jackson. Well, we're not trying to bamboozle anybody. We're not trying to lie to anybody, that's for sure. Simply, what we're trying to do is when a person is in crisis, right? We've all seen people in actual crisis. They're not thinking straight. Their normal baseline is here. We'll call it their baseline. They've gone into a crisis. Something has happened in their life or some fucking thing pushed them over the edge, right? Now they're up here, they're acting irrational, they're doing crazy things like taking people hostages, right? Like barricading yourself in a Wasco complex control or central control with 2 bottles of liquor, mind you, a gun, woo, whatever. That's not even nothing to joke about. That is, well, what Sacramento should do is identify there's a fucking problem. They don't care. Anyhow, that is a crisis, right? That's something that individual or any wouldn't normally do under normal conditions. So a hostage negotiator, their goal, one of their many goals, is to bring them back down to baseline. Everybody has a different baseline, right? Some people are off normally turned up. Some people are calm. Some people are just angry people. But hey, if I can get you angry, but down to your normal angry, then we can start making some sound decisions. Right now, we can start talking. Now we can remove you from a position that you kind of put yourself into before any harm or more harm gets done. So it's not bamboozling people. It's fucking bringing them back to earth. Hello, right? Sanity, right? And it's serious stuff. It's psychological. That's why I was so infatuated by it. Like, wow, man. You learn how to be a good listener. Right? Something my wife would probably appreciate. Like, damn, Hector, you're always talking. You're always saying, welcome back to the channel. My daughter always says that. Welcome back to the channel, guys. She's 4. You go through scenarios at that Crisis Negotiations Academy. Just like anything else, if you were going to be shooting on a range to become a tactical operator, you're going to be on the range. You're going to be shooting at paper targets, so you become proficient. In the Negotiations Academy, you go through scenarios. There's various exercises, various role playing that you're going to encounter, and they're testing you. They're watching you. They're seeing how you're going to react, how you're going to handle that situation. Well, one of those scenarios over there was a role player on a bridge, dressed up in a suit. They got picture frames in their hand. They're smoking real cigarettes. They got empty liquor bottles. Like they're train like you fight, as they say. You know what I mean? You are in the zone. You are training. But it doesn't feel like training because it feels real. And in that scenario, the guy is on a bridge. Right, there is an actual bridge at the academy. Like the dude's on there, one leg over the rail, crying. These role players are good, and talking about how I don't want to live anymore. I'm just gonna end it all. And it's like, oh man, I have like a suicidal individual. Right, I gotta do my thing as a hostage negotiator. bring them back down, bring them, right? Because nobody wants that. So you encounter that, you encounter different methods, you encounter different, and again, none of this is bamboozling people. You know, we're not fakely saying, hey, Bill, you don't want to do that. Like, not robots, right? You are feeling the emotions, you are feeling it with them. I mean, if you're good at what you do, it's like you don't want that person to jump, man. You don't want that. You want whatever they're going through to get quelled and taken care of, right? You don't, it's not so much as, hey, come come back over the rail. All right, good job, Bill. See you guys tomorrow. And you don't give two fucks about the individual. You truly, or at least I did, right? Speaking for myself. And the majority, 99.9, or else they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it, right? You legitimately care about another human being. I mean, there was people crying at the academy because they're just so emotionally invested, so emotionally exhausted by the whole nonstop training, realistic training. Now that I've given you guys the baseline, now that I've given you guys the backstory, now that you have a little insight on what it takes to be a hostage negotiator, shortly after I came back, within a year, maybe a year and a half, can't even remember the time frame. Let me see, Lieutenant A-Yard, fucking 1 year. Oh, I had just promoted to lieutenant at the academy, I think, because they told me congratulations or something like that. Something bullshit. I don't know. So, I told you guys I worked at Donovan's prison, RJD. There's two ways to get to the prison if you're coming from north to south. One is the 905 freeway, which is kind of the back. And the other one is the 125 toll road, where you actually got to pay a little toll. It's like $1.25 or something to use it. And that's the route that I would take, the toll road. It's quicker, straight shot. There is a huge, huge bridge on the 125 freeway. The bridge is long, and the bridge is high off the ground. You look down as I don't know, 100 feet, hundreds of feet down to the grassy area on the bottom. One day I'm driving into work, third watch. Like I told you, I was third watch, Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays for 16 years. That's going in at 2 p.m. As I'm driving my truck at the time, I'm heading south, 125 south. I see a female sitting on the railing. This is where it gets crazy. Sitting on the railing with their hands in their face, like would look to be crying. Right? And I'm driving. Your boy goes 80, right? Of course I go 80. And I'm like, the hell? That was weird. Right? I'm not expecting any of this. I'm just going to work, hating my life. I see that. It didn't look right. And I'm like, no way. No way. Absolutely not. Like this, nah. And I'm like, look, I can't turn around right here because there's a barrier. There's a median all the way through. But at the end of this bridge, I could turn around. And someone just said, like, hey, just do it. Do it, turn around. That didn't look right. Come on, Hector. Like, you know what the fuck that was, man. And I'm like, no way. Right? I get past that barrier. I flip a bitch, right? I do a U-turn. I pull up on the opposite side of the freeway along that individual. I pull over. As soon as I open the truck door, I hear her sobbing. I don't want to make the sobbing noises, right? But I hear her weeping, sobbing, crying in her hands. And I'm like, no way. Right? And I'm like, ma'am, ma'am, right? Because she appeared to look older and she was going through it. Opened the door, made sure no cars were coming so I wouldn't get hit. Hey, ma'am, can I talk to you? Can I talk to you? I would like to know what's going on. Would you mind speaking to me, ma'am? I jump over the median, right? The concrete barrier. This is a fucking true life, real story. This is after the Hostage Negotiations Academy. What are the fucking chances, right? I see a car had already stopped, somewhat blocking traffic from that lane. So now it was traffic was kind of go slow on the other lane. That dude is kind of walking towards me. Now we're approaching this female. Hey, ma'am, please, like, I want to hear you out. Please, I have no idea what you're going through, but I want to know, like, you can talk to me, right? I'm here. I want to hear, like, I'm here to listen to you. She's like sobbing, like looking up, and I'm like, hey, ma'am, you're really making me nervous by sitting on this railing, right? If I give you my hand, would you come down and we can go talk on over here, like away from the bridge, right? And then she like looked up and she put her hand out. Oh man. I grabbed her hand, right? Because it was the railing was like there's like concrete on the bottom and then the steel or aluminum, whatever it is. So she was kind of almost chest level to me. That's how, and I'm 5'11", right? Cortado, G. Had to throw that in there. So I said, she gives me her hand. I get her off. By that time, the dude who was behind me gets her other hand. We get her off. And then quickly, swiftly, we walk away from the railing, from the bridge. She had parked her car way back. And I'm like, hey, man, like, hey, right? She's crying. And I'm like, my heart kind of racing, but in control, but kind of tripping too. Like, my hamster was like, are you serious right now? Like, no way, right? Like, we get to talking, right? I just didn't abandon her. Yeah, I was late to work. For sure, I was late. I didn't abandon her. I truly cared. Like, talk to me. Talking about how she has a problem with substance abuse. Talking to me how she has a problem with child custody issues and addiction. And I'm like, fuck, man. Like I told her, I don't know you at all. Never met you prior to this day, but I care about you. I care about you. You know, I don't want to see nothing bad, terrible happen to you, and nobody really does. Like, that's not cool at all. There's people out here that care, that really give a fuck. You know, I'm getting through to her slowly. She asked for like a cigarette or something from her car. We go get it. They had already called the CHP. Somebody had already called the California Highway Patrol. They were waiting for the California Highway Patrol to show up. Finally, the dad shows up of the woman. She must have been age 25 through 27 ish. The dad shows up. Apparently, it wasn't her first rodeo. Right? Apparently, there was a lot of work that needed to be done. And the dad, like, took her away. Right? Get in the car. Let's go. They left. And I'm like, man, I hope she gets the help that she needs. CHP never came. I'm not knocking the CHP. I'm just letting you guys know as part of the story. The CHP never came. They did call. They said, hey, we got her off the bridge. Like, oh, cool, thanks. Cancel the call. Went to work, right? And the whole time, I'm like, damn, what a trip, man. Already exhausted before I got into work, right? To go face the buffoonery. You know, I didn't tell this story to brag about what I did at all. That's not what this point is about. The point is that things to me happened for a reason. Like, come on, man. What are the freaking chances? A, what are the chances I'm going to end up at a hostage negotiator course, right? Out of all my life experiences. Two, like shortly after, like I do go through a scenario where that exactly transpired at the training. Then I come back and then that happens. Just like look at the sequence of events. Boom, boom, boom. With that, the message for today is this is a good one too, because these are hard lessons that I've learned. Everything I've told you thus far are hard lessons that I've learned. I used to get mad when I didn't get things my way. When I didn't promote to sergeant. I interviewed fucking 5 times for the correctional sergeant position. I did not get picked up until my sixth interview at RJD Donovan. I interviewed like 3 times at Centinela, like once at CIW, California Institute for Women. And I didn't see it then. But I could see it now, and I see things for the future where I don't get upset when something doesn't go my way. I'm like, okay, it wasn't meant to be. You know, people tell you it wasn't meant to be. It sounds cheesy, it sounds cliche, but this is the fucking truth for me. And I know it's the truth for you guys too. Sometimes what you want isn't what God wants for you, isn't what's in your cards that were meant for you, right? Or higher power, whatever you want to refer to it, right? It took me a long time to realize that. It took a lot of heartache, a lot of pain, a lot of resentments towards people, things, places, right? Resentments are like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. It's only toxic to yourself, right? So the next time something does or does not happen in your way, or you are frustrated in the current situation that you are right where you need to be. You are right where you need to be. Keep pushing forward.